Cops showed up at dawn, and even they looked rattled. Picture this, the morning those blue and red lights hit my shoreline, my land after all those years, and I genuinely thought it was a mistake. I mean, come on, I'd lived on this ground since I was a kid, since my dad handed me the keys and said, "Protect this place." And then the HOA president, sharp as a splinter, points right at me and tells the cops I've got no right to stand on my own porch. That's the kind of moment that makes your brain stutter, when you realize the world's about to tip over and you're the only thing holding it up. I wish I could say I was calm, but the truth is, as the pounding of those engines yanked me out of half sleep, my stomach dropped like a stone. It wasn't even dawn yet. Lake was still black glass. The trees were just suggestions against a sky that hadn't figured out what color it wanted to be. And the only thing moving was a pair of cop truck's lights flickering through my window slats. I figured maybe, just maybe, there was an accident on the road. But then there she was, Bethany Crowell, HOA president, standing rigid with a clipboard and the kind of self-righteous energy you only get from people who've never had to fight for anything that really matters. I opened the door, shivering, barely awake, the wood cold under my feet. Jake Carter. One of the deputies asked, flashlight in my eyes. That's me. I didn't get to finish. Bethany cut right in all fake politeness. Sheriff's Department received a trespassing report. This man is occupying HOA property. He's refused to leave. Now let me be clear. My family's owned this cove for 60 years longer than Bethany's probably been alive. I tried to keep it cool, but it was tough when someone's rewriting your entire life with a few legalese words and a plastic smile. Ownership is a matter of jurisdiction, Mr. Carter, she said, tapping that damn folder. As of last year, Heron Ridge HOA expanded its shoreline management boundaries. This cabin now falls within community authority. That's when I knew she'd come loaded for war. The deputy asked if I had proof. I did. Went inside, grabbed the deed, my dad's signature from '64, still clear as day. The deputy looked it over, nodded, said, "Looks valid." Bethany just smiled, boots crunching the frost. Irrelevant. The board voted to extend jurisdiction. You're blocking shared water access. I almost laughed. Bethany, my dock's been here longer than you have. You had nothing to do with it. She wasn't having it. The deputies looked torn, one of them trying to make sense of the mess. Ma'am, if this property wasn't originally in the HOA, Bethany shut him down. We have expansion rights. Approved last spring. Approved by who, county, state? Or just a group of neighbors with too much time and too little sense? Finally, the older deputy held up a hand. We're going to need to verify jurisdiction before we remove anybody from anything. It was the first time all morning I felt the tension shift even an inch my way. Bethany's face pinched, but she held her ground. The deputies backed off, lights fading into the gray. Bethany. She stayed, staring daggers through me at the end of my drive. Didn't say a word, but it was clear as day this wasn't over. After she left, I walked the property, the sun just starting to stretch over the trees. That's when I saw them new survey flags, bright orange, lined up like a marching band right through my land. They weren't here yesterday, and the county sure didn't put them there. Someone had crept onto my property in the dark, laying claim with every flag they planted. That was the real message. Bethany wasn't waiting for paperwork. She was carving up my life, one step at a time. By midday, the cops were gone, but the chill they left behind stuck around. I collected the survey flags, tracing the line they made right over the old boundary markers my dad placed. Bethany was rewriting the land like it was a bad draft. That's when I called Sarah Whitfield, my attorney. She's got the kind of sharp mind you want in a crisis. HOA sent cops to my door, I said. She was in her Jeep in under an hour, legal pad out before she'd even said hello. One look at the flags and she muttered, "Wrong color, wrong plastic. HOA contractors, or someone they hired off the books." We laid out my paperwork, deeds, surveys, tax records. Sarah's phone buzzed. "Sheriff Morales on the line. Mr. Carter, Miss Whitfield, the HOA's filed an obstruction complaint. Says you're blocking community water access." I almost choked. With what? My dock. The sheriff wasn't buying it either, but he was clear Bethany's pushing hard. When Sarah asked who'd approved the expansion, Morales hesitated. Someone at the county planning office. Provisional Shoreline Management Amendment. Sarah's eyes flashed. Impossible. Amendments need 60 days public notice. After the call, she went digging through the county's online system. There it was, my parcel, only it wasn't right. The water line bulged. The HOA listed as adjacent authority. Someone had moved the lake with a click of a mouse. They redrew it, Sarah said, showing me a forged county stamp, a fake employee code. This was no amateur hack job. This was a move made by people who thought nobody would catch them. Now I was mad. Not scared, just mad. Print everything I said. Document every last detail. Just then my phone rang again. Bethany, sharp as ever. Since you've chosen to ignore our notices, the HOA is moving forward with corrective action. Those survey flags you pulled up, that's destruction of community property. I hung up. Let them escalate. We'd found their playbook. But when I stepped outside, my stomach dropped. More flags. A whole battalion running right up to my dad's dock. The next 24 hours were hell. By afternoon, HOA contractors rolled in unloading lumber rope and big red warning signs. Orders from the HOA 1 said not even looking at me. They started fencing off my own lake access. I recorded every minute. This was evidence now. Sarah arrived, laughed dryly at the scene. They're bluffing with confidence. Means they're hiding something. We took photos, notes, everything. That night I heard feet on the gravel, 3 men flashlights crouched by the dock. Not neighbors, not friends. We're just doing inspection, one yelped when I stepped out. Water compliance inspection at midnight. They bolted, dropping a laminated violation notice, failure to maintain dock to community standards. I actually laughed. They came with pre-printed citations. Back inside, I dug through my dad's old chest. That's when I found it, a metal lockbox I'd somehow never noticed. Inside, documents, notes, and then a legal agreement, county seal from 1973, granting my family exclusive water access rights to the cove forever. Not just the shoreline, the dock, the water 30 yards out. HOA couldn't touch it. Sarah read over my shoulder, whispering, "Jake, this isn't just helpful. It's a weapon." The next morning, fresh flags, new lines, HOA vehicles, and then the big twist. A man I'd never seen steps out, Marcus Hale, investment advisor, sharp suit, sunglasses, the whole 9 yards. Bethany introduced him, and suddenly it clicked. They weren't after my dock. They wanted the whole ridge. "Your cabin sits on land that's far more valuable in other hands," Marcus said, grinning. "Maybe we can negotiate a buyout." I told him it wasn't for sale. He just smiled like that was the answer he expected. That's when I pulled out the 1973 water rights agreement, held it up for everyone to see. My father secured exclusive water rights to this cove. Signed, filed, permanent. Marcus's smile cracked. Bethany tried to push through, but the crowd, my neighbors finally stepping up, had seen enough. The room shifted. People started sharing their own finds, their own stories of HOA intimidation. That night, an emergency meeting. Bethany laid out doctored photos, faked water tests, a motion to suspend my shoreline access. But I had my own evidence. The raw data was a copy-paste job. Sarah traced the digital maps upload to Bethany herself. The whole scam unraveled in real time, shouting accusations, a board member slipping me a note to check the financials. The room turned not with violence, but with something way more powerful, community. By next morning, the county rolled up inspectors documenting every illegal fence, every fake document, every bit of fraud. Bethany showed up waving a federal order, a forgery signed by someone who'd retired a decade ago. The inspector called her bluff on the spot. The county seized records, nullified every HOA action, and put Bethany and Marcus under investigation. Their power, all that arrogance, evaporated in front of everyone they used to scare. The lesson paper beats reality until you find the right piece of paper. My dad knew that. He left me more than just a deed. He left me a legacy, a blueprint for holding the line when power tries to rewrite the rules. That day, as county officials tore down the HOA's fences and neighbors gathered to watch, I realized the real fight wasn't about a dock. It was about a community learning that standing together was stronger than standing alone. Justice, real, messy, overdue. Justice finally rolled in. And as I tightened the last bolt on my father's dock, the land finally felt like mine again. That's how you know karma's done its job, when the bad actors end up boxed in by the very traps they set, and the folks who never had a voice finally get to raise one. So here's my question for you. When does standing your ground cross the line into something more, something we owe not just to ourselves, but to everyone who comes after? And if you've ever had to fight for what's right or seen justice swing back the other way, I want to hear about it. Drop your story below, hit subscribe, and stick around, because around here, justice always finds its way home.